loves. I'm so happy you're here today. I have a very serious, important topic, although I look a little bit crazy. We're going to talk about red flags in prison relationships. Before we get started, I just want to point out that if anybody gets on me about my hat saying old zone, I'm gonna come beat you with my ratchet homemade red flag, okay? Okay, thanks. So, I'm just joking. All kidding aside though, lipstick blotter, pinky finger, wow. Red flags and red fingers in a prison relationship. What is this? What is this? You gotta love me. I'm gonna sneeze. Really? We're a minute in and I haven't even started? Okay, so before we start, I want to add a disclaimer that a lot of these could be, yes, red flags, definitely. But a lot of them also can be done by somebody who is very genuine. It's just their personality or something that they need or want, and we'll talk through each of them. I want the main takeaway for you to be that if your gut is telling you that something is going on and something's wrong, that's what you need to listen to. Women are born with this beautiful thing called intuition, yet so often we choose to ignore it for whatever reason. Can you guys take me seriously? With the red pinky, I gotta get that off. For whatever reason, we decide we want to ignore it. It could be because of jail talk. It could be because we've put up with so much. It could be because we are in love with the potential that we see in somebody that they're unfortunately at this moment not living up to. Just because you need to leave right now because they're not living into their potential doesn't mean that it needs to be forever. It might need to be just for right now while they get their act together. Okay, it's almost all gone, but I couldn't stand myself with that. I'm such a hand talker. I could not stand myself with a red pinky. I felt like you guys couldn't take me seriously. Like you can take me seriously with a hard hat that says old zone. I mean, I guess if the shoe or the hat fits, right? So most of this boils down to following your intuition, my friend. If you find that you're making up excuses for him, justifying his bad behavior, if something doesn't feel right and his stories aren't adding up, don't make excuses for him. Just be forthright. Just have a conversation with him and call him out. It could be loving. You don't have to attack him. In a prison relationship, so many things are going to feel different than either the relationship that you have and are in right now and had before they were inside. It's going to be a little bit different now because of the confines and the restrictions around your relationship. Or if it's a new relationship, if you met him while he was inside or you knew him before, but you really kind of rekindled or developed your relationship while he was inside, it's going to feel different from the relationships that you've had out here because everything kind of exists in your head right now. There is a lot of fantasy involved, and I know people get upset when they hear that, and I really talked through that in a video that I created about a Dr. Phil episode about prison wives. People were asking me for my reaction because it kind of felt like he was being judgmental and went hard against people who loved people who are incarcerated. I'm gonna link that video up there because I talked through the fantasy part of it and my opinion and my feelings on it. But for sake of this video, we kind of do live in our little fantasy world. They give us little bits and pieces through email and phone calls, and the rest of it we just get to create in our heads, and we get to create this perfect little world and how we envision our perfect relationship to be. And I think a lot of times that's why we hear so many stories of these relationships not working out after the couple comes home, because we live in a fantasy a lot of times and we don't take the time to do exercises and to work through the tough stuff together and to communicate thoroughly. So if something seems off, I want you to ask yourself, if this relationship started or was taking place out here and both of us lived in the free world, how would I feel? How would I react? What would I do? And I'll give you examples as we talk through these red flags. I also want you to ask yourself, if my daughter, my best friend, my niece was telling me this about her relationship, what advice would I give her as her mother, as her aunt, as her friend? Would you put up with this stuff in an outside relationship? Or would it be a red flag if you were both out here? If either of those answers were no, I would not put up with this, or yeah, that would so be a red flag. For example, if after 2 dates somebody was pushing you to marry him, out here you'd be like, oh hell no, something is off with that. Same. If somebody inside is pushing you to marry him after 2 weeks of knowing each other, you have to slow down, my friend. That is a red flag. So let's continue and talk through these red flags. I have these ordered 1 through 10. They're not in any particular order, but some of them kind of weave into one another, and we'll just talk through it. If we get out of order, if we get out of numbers, who cares? I had to take off my hat. It was getting really hot. Red flag number 1. He disappears. The communication is very minimal. Maybe they disappear for weeks or months at a time, or they give you just enough to keep you satisfied and strung along. He or she always has an excuse for why they couldn't write, for why they couldn't call, for why they don't want you to come to visit. Now, there are going to be plenty of times in your relationship where the inmate literally cannot call or email, times of lockdown, or if money is low and they just don't have it to put on the account. But those times, they should probably warn you. If you put money on the books and they still don't call, if they have excuses and it's just so frequent, one time after another, you call the facility, you know they're not on lockdown, you call a girlfriend or somebody you know whose loved one is locked up there as well, or you ask on one of the support groups or social media pages for strong prison wives and they're not on lockdown. Your love is just not calling you. That's a red flag, my friend. Red flag number 2. They want to marry you within a couple of days, a couple of weeks, even a couple of months. That's a red flag, my friend, especially for you that are in a relationship where you met your loved one after they were already on the inside. A lot of times you fall hard and you fall fast. And like I said earlier, it's because of all of that physical being ripped away from you and you being able to make up half of this relationship in fantasy land and in your head, and them telling you what they think you want to hear. So their next logical step could possibly be to rope you in and to try to get you to marry them. I had concern about a friend whose husband I felt was starting to show signs, red flag after red flag, that things could be off and he potentially was using her and probably had zero intentions of being together with her after he got out. So I called a friend who had done over 20 years, most of his adult life on the inside, had recently gotten out, and I said, listen, this girl is telling me this story. I said, the only thing I think that she has going for her, he's displaying these signs, but maybe not because he married her. And he said, I've known guys that have married 2 or 3 women on the inside. Now, obviously, you can't legally be married to more than one person at a time, but in most states at least, but you can get married, it doesn't work out, get divorced, get married again, doesn't work out, get divorced. Because a lot of times they don't care. It's nothing to them but a piece of paper, almost like a contract that he's gonna get what he wants or whatever it is that he wants from her. I always say to the people that I coach and to you guys, what's the rush? What is the rush to get married to somebody? There is nothing really that you're going to get from them that you need to have from them with that marriage contract. If you need to be in charge of decisions, I totally get it. You can get a power of attorney. That's what I have for Adam. You don't need to legally have a marriage certificate in order to help make decisions for them or to sign off on things for them. So if that's what they're trying to push for, try to go the power of attorney route, and you don't need to get married for at least a year, really, especially because I think you need to take time to get to know each other longer than you would in an outside relationship. Red flag number 3, he's controlling, abusive, or he talks down to you. So there are so many women that I've coached throughout the years that put up with being controlled from behind the wall, being told when they can go out, when they can't go out, what they can do, what they can wear, who they can talk to, if they're allowed to have social media, X, Y, and Z, you name it. I don't have a problem with you having a conversation with your loved one and talking about morals and values and ethics between you two. And if he has a problem with, let's say, you talking to your ex and listing all of the reasons why, sure, I get it. If he has a problem with you going out on a Friday night just because you need to hang out with your friends and not be a prison wife for 5 minutes and just unload from the week and enjoy time and live your life and not put yourself in a prison, that's a problem, my friend. That's a red flag. If he has a problem with you going out to a club late at night by yourself and then walking down the street alone at 3 o'clock in the morning to get in your car and go home, sure, I get that. That's not a red flag. So know the situation, but if he's controlling you and telling you, no, you can't go out because I'm in here miserable, so why are you going out? Or you're going to meet somebody, or you did meet somebody. No. Or I have so many people who put up with abuse, who put up with being spoken down to, being yelled at, picking up the phone after waiting days to finally get the call from their loved one and feeling those butterflies in the stomach, only to be spoken down to, yelled at, and berated for the 15 or 30 minutes of their phone call. Those are red flags, my friend. You should be with somebody who supports you, who pushes you to do the things that make you a better person, who wants you to go out and live your life, and who speaks to you like a queen, who encourages you, who lifts you up, who calls you on your crap. I get called on my crap all the time, but I get lovingly called on my crap. Yes, he could speak to me firmly sometimes, but he's never once raised his voice to me. Ever. He's hung up on me once, but it's a different story for a different time. I kind of deserved it. Fourth red flag in a prison relationship is when there are signs of drug use. So unfortunately, a lot of us are in relationships with people who are on the inside because of addiction, and also a lot of people use drugs to cope while they're on the inside, whether their charges are around drugs or not. There are some blatant signs, like asking for a lot of money all the time, like not showing up to visit looking differently, looking high, acting high. You guys know the signs. I can make more videos about it. I've made videos about it in the past. We have some amazing people on YouTube. My friend Jessica Kent, my friend Megan, who I'll link their channels below. You should all go subscribe to them. They talk a lot about addiction. You will learn from them. They've both been to jail. They both have been in love with addicts. So there are warning signs. And if he is displaying those warning signs, my friend, I'm not saying you need to necessarily walk away, but that's a red flag, and you need to proceed with caution. You need to call him out, not on the phone, not in email, not in a letter, at visit where it's not monitored, but you need to call him out, and you need to take steps towards either getting him back clean and sober or developing your exit plan, sweetheart. Red flag number 5. He always talks about the good old days or hitting the street or what he's going to do as soon as he gets out, not in a positive way. He always talks about how he can't wait to pick up where he left off. He does not take steps towards the future. He does not talk about your future together. And if he does, it also kind of weaved in there is going right back to street life. Adam tells me all the time, there are so many people in there that reminisce and romance the good old days, and they tell their stories and they pull out their pictures. And obviously people are going to share memories and they're going to share stories and they're going to share crazy times. That's fine. You're going to reminisce and talk about stuff, but you have to understand the fine line between them just talking about memories and telling stories and wanting to go right back to the street and wanting to pick up right where they left off, because then what they're doing is basically securing the fact that you're going to be in a revolving door and become a chronic prison wife. For me personally, this is a one-shot deal. Unless something gets screwed up and they screw him somehow with probation and parole and violations, and I do not whatsoever foresee that happening in my situation, because we already have POs fighting to take Adam. That's how much he's rehabilitated himself. And that's what I want for you. That is exactly what I want for you. I don't say that stuff to brag. I don't say that stuff, my guy's better than your guy. Absolutely not. I say that meaning your guy could be, or girl could be, just like mine. They just have to put in the work inside, and they have to make plans towards their future the day that they go inside. Not about hitting the street again, not about the good old days, not about trying to get involved with old associates. Make plans for their release, how they're going to be different when they get out, and how this time is going to be the successful time. Number 6, I was gonna say for last, but it is the biggest one of all. They ask you for money, for way too much money, and they're asking you for money all the time, even if you can't afford it. And a huge red flag revolving that, and I always tell people that say, I'm not sure, I just have this feeling that he's using me for money, or he's asking me for money and I don't have it. The test lies in their reaction the times that you tell them that you can't afford it and don't send it. Even if you have that money, I would try that a couple times. Say, I am so sorry, things are really tight this month, I just can't give it to you. If he gets angry, if he gets pissed, if he tells you that, how dare you, he needs it, you don't understand, he's the one inside, he's suffering, you're making him suffer, he starts berating you, he stops talking to you, telling you that he's gonna find somebody else who can if you can't. Oh honey, I've heard that one on more than one occasion from a lot of prison wives. Those are, God, what is redder than red? Those are the Red Sea of flags. That is absolutely not peace out, goodbye, do not pass go, or collect $200, get out. And I want to add a disclaimer there. That doesn't mean that you should not send money, and that doesn't mean that there are very legitimate reasons why inmates need money. They do. One of my most watched videos I'm going to post up there is all about how much money a prisoner needs, and I itemized every single thing and how much things cost, so you get an idea of what they need a month. And it can be a lot of money, but they don't need everything a month. I put in necessities, kind of, but really all of their necessities basically are met. I know that that's a really hard thing to say. Yes, they get 3 meals a day, but I did a live video recently where they were fed bologna sandwiches for 5 days straight. Bologna sandwiches and cornflakes for breakfast. So their needs as grown men aren't 100% met, but they can survive on $0 if need be. But it can go up to $250 a month if they have necessities, and also if there are some luxury things that you don't necessarily need to send money for. So the point is, they can go without if need be. That also means you're going to go without phone calls or JPays or CoreLink emails or anything like that. But test it. I'm telling you, my friend, test it. It is all in their reaction, if that is a red flag or not. Red flag number 7, they start asking you for too much, or they start asking you for things that you don't want to do, especially illegal things that you don't want to do. So if they start sweet talking you and everything seems perfect, and then all of a sudden they hit you with, listen, I have this idea, this can make us a bunch of money real quick, just this one time, I need you to bring something through visit, I need you to contact Joe Schmo and put some money on his books, I need you to go meet so-and-so over here and grab this from him and bring it over there, I need you to bring me cigarettes, I need you to X, Y, and Z. And first of all, it's illegal. Second of all, you just don't want to do it and you say no. The fact that they're putting you in that position is kind of a yellow flag. A yellow flag? I don't have a yellow flag here. I'll tell you why. Because I've had this conversation with Adam before, and he said desperate times do call for desperate measures. Now, if you've been in a relationship with somebody for a really long time and you committed criminal acts together and they're asking you to do this and you've done it together for so long, is that a red flag? I would say, no, I don't want to do it. It's not that they're using you necessarily and they don't love you necessarily. It's just desperate times and you've done it before, so they think they could ask. So I wouldn't 100% say break up with them. I am not saying to do it. Don't. It is so not worth it for you to get charges, for you to go to jail, for you to risk all of that just to make a couple of bucks. But this video is about red flags, and if you should develop an exit strategy or decide if you want to do this bid and stay for the long haul, that's a yellow flag. But hear me, my friends, if you are new to this, if you're just developing your relationship, you just rekindled an old flame or friendship, that is like wave your red flag high if they're asking you to do things that you don't want to do. Nope, nope, no. Answer is no. N-O, not. Don't do it. Don't do it. And if they get pissed off at you when you say no, that is a huge red flag. That flag is flying high, girl. Red flag number 8. They are not open about their charges. They lie about their charges. They don't want to talk about their charges. So there is a way for you to Google anybody on the inside. Their information is almost always public. There are a few, very few, closed case files, but you should still be able to find something surrounding their case. Google is your best friend in a prison relationship. I can't tell you how many people come to me who have no idea what their loved one's charges are. And I'm telling you, that is so unacceptable. My friend, you want to know not only for the red flag situation, but also how are you going to help them? What if laws change? What if there's a way for your loved one to get time back or get out earlier and you don't know what he did? You don't know that law changed, and he doesn't know because they don't hear stuff right away inside. And let's say you only have a certain amount of time to file something legally and you lose it. So no red flag involved there, but you should know. But also, my dear loves, you don't go into jail for being an altar boy or a Boy Scout or a choir girl. Usually, not always, usually you did something wrong. Yes, there are plenty of innocent people on the inside. There are more people who maybe were charged with something different than what they actually did, but they were still doing something bad and deserved that. So you need to figure out what that was and if morally you can jive with riding with this person. Also, you just want to know if he's telling you the truth. Now, another caveat, media, articles, newspapers, news videos, they need a villain and they need a victim. So they might be made out to be the ringleader and this awful person, and maybe that's not necessarily what happened with their case. We have so many people who met their loved one before they were incarcerated and they're like, that is absolutely not what happened. Yes, he was guilty. Yes, he was charged with what he did, but my God, those articles and those websites made him out to be, oh my gosh, a maniac, and that's not it. And I could tell you that's what happened with Adam. When you Google his name, the newspaper articles that come up, he was the ringleader, he was the mastermind, the this and that. He is 100% guilty of what he did, but he was not that person that they made him out to be. So yes, look up his charges. Is it a red flag if they look a little bit different than what he said? Not necessarily, but I sat with Adam. It took us a whole summer of monthly visits for him to walk me through every single charge and exactly what happened. Was it emotional? Of course. Did I need that? Yes. I needed to know that I was going to do this and I was okay with moving forward with this for the long haul. This is your life, my friend. These years, even if it's 2, if you're 25 years old, 25 to 27, do you want to give that up? What if you're 25 years old and he has a 20-year sentence? Do you want to give up 25 to 55 or my life for beauties? Do you want to decide if you're going to go in for this long haul without knowing precisely what he did, or if he doesn't want to talk to you about it? I don't know. To me, that's a red flag. Now, there are situations, like my husband Adam does not like to talk about his first charge in the state. He doesn't like to talk about it because it brings up a lot of really bad emotions. There was threats made to his family, this and that. I know what it was. I know what he did. I Googled it myself. I don't force him to talk about that because I know from his family how traumatic that was for him. So if there's things like that that you know and you can fact check around it and he'll talk to you, but maybe he gets uncomfortable, it's very different. But if they just won't talk to you about it, if they lie to you, if they tell you something completely different, or if you're in denial and you're like, well, I don't want to invade his privacy. Privacy, it's public information. Do your homework. Red flag number 9. if he has a crazy temper. If you don't know what's going to set him off, if you start watching your words, you stop talking to him, you lose your voice because you're just afraid of setting him off. You don't know what will set him off. You can say one thing one day and he laughs about it. The next day you say the exact same thing in a joking manner and he flips out. He has a tantrum. He says things that are so rude and mean and cruel and you get scared. That is a huge red flag. He probably has some mental health issues going on. He probably has a temper that he just never got in check, and that will not go away without counseling, without potentially medication, without properly treating that. We all have tempers. We all leash out. Girl, I go from 0 to jurors in 0.02 seconds, but it's when it's legitimate, it's few and far between, and it's something very serious that sets me off like that. And I don't have people that are afraid to talk to me because they don't know if I'm gonna lash out. It's not like that. I have a very long fuse and it takes a long time to get there. But my point is, everybody has a breaking point. Everybody gets to the point eventually where they will lose their temper. What my lesson and the red flag is for you is, if you never know when it's going to happen, or if you're afraid to start saying stuff and you start silencing yourself because of that. Red flag number 10, he tells you not to visit. Or when you are at visit, you see him like he can't wait to get to the back. He barely acknowledges you. He makes excuses for you to go. He makes excuses why he needs to leave. Now, there's going to be times where that happens. There's going to be times where there's something maybe going on in the back that he needs to take care of. He might just be tired. But if this persists and he always has an excuse why he doesn't want you to come to visit, or somebody else is using those visit points, or he's just not into you, there's just distance, you could tell something's off, you say something about it and he'll give you a couple minutes and then he's gone again. There might be something going on there that could potentially be a red flag. Adam's had people say, man, I don't know how you do it. You guys are out there for 6 hours. It used to be every week before we moved to once a month when he just got moved further away, but they'd be like, what do you have to talk about? I get to the point where I want to go. And that could be normal in some situations. 6 hours is a long time to spend talking to somebody, but he's like, we just talk about everything. We laugh. We enjoy each other's company. We tell each other about our lives and what's going on. If they have absolutely nothing to talk to you about, if the body language is off, if there's no chemistry or connection, or he's not giving you anything, that could be a red flag. Now, it could be, especially for you guys that are in a situation where you knew him before and he's new to this, he's in the first phase of his sentence, he might just be kind of closing himself off from outside life. There is a transition period where he might be trying to push you away. He might start feeling a little bit cold. He might not open up as much anymore. And we have to remember that they are shutting off their emotions. You have to live a certain way emotionally in there. You have to live a certain way physically. You have to kind of sometimes take both feet out of the free world in the beginning so you can do your time. You need to prepare and emotionally be okay with doing that time and letting go of some of that guilt and shame and everything that goes along with getting used to this sentence and what he's doing to the family and what he did to your relationship. So in the beginning, if he does that push you away thing and he does that closed off thing and maybe he doesn't open up the way he used to, that probably is just him adjusting. But if it's more, I can't tell you what's right or wrong for you. I can't tell you what his personality was like because I don't know him, but you do. And that's where you need to trust that intuition. So I hope that helps if you're questioning your relationship, if you're questioning if you should go on with this, if things just don't seem right or off. The takeaway is to follow your gut and then to just go through these 10 things and see if something feels off and see if there's something just not there, and then reevaluate and decide, do I want to spend my time doing this bid? What I'm going to do as well is I will follow this video with a green flags in a prison relationship video, because I don't want you to think it's all just bad. And there are those good ones in there, and there are those beautiful relationships that do wind up working out after incarceration. And I want to highlight those as well. So look out for that in the next one. If you think of other red flags, let us know in the comments below. If you want to elaborate on something that I said that stood out to you and you're like, oh, yes, girl, also this, comment below. We're all here to learn from one another, to help each other, and to support each other through, and to make it to the end of this, no matter what that end looks like. As long as you follow your gut and listen to that intuition, you will be a success story. Keep staying strong, keep loving strong, keep supporting one another through this journey, because you're one day closer to it all being behind you. Lots of love from my heart to yours. I'll see you beautiful ladies and gentlemen in the next one. Bye, guys.